You can get started.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys about all sorts of colorful fruits and vegetables and how to incorporate them into your diet, as well as some really cool nutritional benefits that are associated with them. So if you guys are ready, I will just get right into it. And I'll share my screen that way. Okay. All right, can everybody, I'm gonna go back one more. Okay, can everybody see okay? Thumbs up. All right, sounds good. So like I said, I'm just gonna be talking about the importance of including colorful fruits and vegetables on your plate. You've already probably heard it several times to eat the rainbow, right? And people are probably wondering why. Why do we associate it with colors like that? But it's because so many of our fruits and vegetables can be categorized into different colors, and they have different nutritional benefits that are easier for our minds to kind of associate with based on the color groups and things like that. So I wanted to just go over, there we go. There we go. Some of the objectives for today's lecture. After I'm done with all of this, and even in between, I'll do some recall type of little activities to see how much we remember and just to recall some of the information I'm giving you. But you should be able to name different sources of colorful fruits and vegetables and some of their health benefits. We'll learn serving sizes, so how much you should be eating per day of those fruits and vegetables. And then going over herbs and spices, which is one of my favorite topics just because I think a lot of us don't realize how powerful some of those things are and how easy you can add them into your meals and swap them out for, using salt and other chemical additives. Okay, so just another little picture here of how multiple colors are incorporated in this meal, and just another picture of how there's benefits in using different colors. Okay, so we'll start with red. And when I think of red foods, obviously the tomatoes are on the page, but if you think about some other ones that are red, that could be, it could be watermelon, it could be red or pink grapefruit, apples, grapes, beets, strawberries. And the reason why they have that red color is actually known as a antioxidant called lycopene, and lycopene is what gives it that rich red color. So if you aren't familiar with what antioxidants are, it's basically a chemical compound that is used in our body to fight off free radicals. So free radicals can be anything like causing inflammation, any sort of turmoil in our body, and these compounds help to fight off those free radicals, which can reduce your risk for a lot of different chronic diseases. So I always like to say, like, who today has had either a red fruit or a red vegetable? Have any of you had any today? I'm getting some nods. Okay. Okay, all right. Sometimes I just like to think of them, like I said, as colors and think, okay, like which colors have I had today? Just to keep in mind that it's so important to have a variety, right? Okay, and like I talked about with the red vegetables and lycopene and reducing risk for chronic diseases, some of them have been, associated with reduced risk of prostate cancer and heart disease. So that's also really pretty profound stuff with just something as simple as like the plants that are grown. We'll move on to blue/purple. So anything that kind of has that hue. That could be, not only like your berries, but blueberries specifically, red cabbage, even like red onion. So just think about those colors. And if you really think about like what gives it their deep blue color, just like how I talked about the lycopene, well, in these blue purpley colored fruits and vegetables, it's called anthocyanin. I know, big word. And it's also a strong antioxidant, like I previously mentioned. And there's actually some pretty interesting research that's being done with anthocyanin, specifically in reference to decreasing inflammation, which can help relieve joint pain. If you have joint pain or any sort of inflammatory diseases or autoimmune diseases like arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, if you have gout. And also there's a small study that's been done that showed that it can actually help improve blood glucose levels for those with diabetes. So of course we need a lot more research to be done, and that's being done, but these are just some things that have been in the works and are pretty exciting. So for those of you who have eaten something blue, purple today, hands up. All right, okay, there we go. That's much better than the last one. Okay, so just more examples here, how I talked about the anti-inflammatory properties, improving blood sugar, just like those bluish purple tones of foods. Moving on to yellow and orange. So that's going to be also self-explanatory. Carrots, cantaloupe, apricots, peaches, your sweet potatoes, and most notably oranges. They're orange. What I like about each fruit and vegetable that's associated with the color, there's also a reason for why they're colored that way. Just like how I mentioned, red is lycopene, that antioxidant. Blue is the anthocyanin, also an antioxidant. And for the yellows and oranges, it's beta carotene, which I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of before. And at least for me, as long as I can remember, you're always here, you know, make sure you get your vitamin A, it's good for your eyes, eat your carrots, that kind of thing. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is that the main component in these colored fruits and vegetables is the beta carotene, but our bodies actually turn it into vitamin A with like the metabolic process. So just a little fun fact, when you're eating your carrots, you know, your sweet potatoes, things like that, you're not directly consuming vitamin A, you're consuming the beta carotene, and then our body processes it and turns it into that vitamin, which is pretty cool. So also an antioxidant as well, helps decrease the risk of developing heart disease, but some other benefits of vitamin A, like I talked about, good for eye health, skin health, your hair health, and also helps to support your immune function. So how many of you guys have had any of these fruits or vegetables today or plan to? All right, we got one hand. Woo. Great. Just another example. Like I said, vitamin A, beta carotene, keep your eyes, your hair, your skin healthy, reduce the risk for heart disease. Okay, moving on to green, which I think everybody's been there's been a buzz about, right? Within at least the last year or so, or 2 years, everyone's all about eating your greens, or it's been a pretty popular topic, and there is, you know, rightfully so, a reason for that. So most green fruits and vegetables are associated with, it's mainly, you know, vegetables, but there are some green fruits like kiwis and green grapes and things, but the most beneficial green items that you're going to get the most from are your spinach, broccoli, green peppers, things like that. And the leafy greens are most notably known for having vitamin K. And also, like I talked about with the other fruits and vegetables, the reason for it being so green and pigmented is because of the chlorophyll that is in the plants. So these have a lot of protective properties and can help with preventing chronic diseases as well. So vitamin K supports strong bones, cardiovascular health with reducing and improving our cholesterol levels. So if you ate a green item at some point today or plan to, you should be proud of yourself because you got a great phytochemical in your system, and that's going to do some great work in our bodies. Go to the next one. Just another example. Spinach is a great one, packed full of vitamin K, vitamin C, folate, just really, really nutrient dense food item. And like I said before, it helps with improving your cholesterol, strong bones, your blood pressure, things like that. Just a little note on citrus, like we all know, good source of vitamin C, but also is a good source of vitamin B, and it helps to improve your immune function. Okay, so we'll get a little bit into serving sizes. So typically in a day, we are supposed to eat 2 cups of fruit. So if you imagine actual measuring cups, and 2.5 cups of vegetables. So how many of you actually get that much in your everyday? Probably not many of us, right? It's actually, it's pretty staggering, but there's a statistic that shows it's estimated that only 30% of Americans actually consume the adequate amount of fruits and vegetables daily. So that's part of the reason why we're here, right? We're learning the benefits of eating fruits and vegetables, how much we should eat, how we can incorporate them into our daily lives, which is very important, and just how really powerful they are for our health. So just by making a few small changes to increase our fruit and vegetable intake, like I said, we can be better and more mindful about improving our health. Here's just that statistic I mentioned again, just to reiterate it. So like I said, just simple ways. If you want to start small, you can totally do that too, whether you have oatmeal in the morning or cereal, and you want to throw some colorful berries in there. You know that you're getting some great antioxidants by doing that. You're getting fiber, just like all those colors incorporated that we talked about. To include your greens, instead of having like chips on the side of your lunch, maybe try a side salad or something like that. Or if you like sandwiches, try adding and layering, your lettuce, tomatoes, different vegetables in there just to help incorporate it a little bit better. So there are a lot of like easy, fun ways that you can add fruits and vegetables to your diet. And at the end of this, we can talk about, maybe if you guys have any ideas or want any helps with suggestions on how to do that. All right, let's get into herbs and spices. Like I said, this is one of my favorite topics, and just because they are so powerful. It's pretty cool. All right, so like I said, they're more than just a garnish. They're more than just adding flavor, which also is very important, but they have a lot of really great health properties, and they're packed with nutrition, which is great. So just a few examples we'll get into later, but I'm sure you've heard of ginger, using it for nausea, motion sickness, that kind of thing. Parsley, which can be used to like as a palate cleanser or to freshen your breath. So those are just some tiny examples, and we'll dive right into some great ones. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is oregano. It's used widely in a lot of cooking, whether it is Mediterranean, Italian, even Mexican dishes that you can use oregano with. And it's known as a mini salad in a spoon. And the reason why it's referred to as that is because of how many nutritional benefits are packed in just 1 teaspoon of oregano. So if you think about it, when we're cooking, think about how tiny a teaspoon is, and you just putting that in your cooking, you're already getting a whole variety of nutritional benefits. So it's an excellent source of vitamin K. It has dietary fiber, manganese, and iron. Those are the most prevalent. And then also it has calcium and vitamin C and also vitamin A as well. So the great thing about oregano is that it's available year round, and it's actually like grown in the Mediterranean region. And a little fun fact, or the name oregano means mountain joy. I just thought that was a cute little note. It kind of is fitting depending on, where it grows. So that's a great, great herb. And if anyone is into or uses essential oils or oils of any type, the oil of oregano is also a very, very notable antibacterial agent. So it's sold in like health food stores, and it has, like I said, fungal, antibacterial properties. And they've actually been shown to inhibit the bacterial growth of two different well-known bacterias. They have long names. One of them you'll be familiar with, Staphylococcus aureus, which I'm sure maybe some have heard of, maybe not, but for those who haven't, it's like a staph infection, which can, be like strep throat, or it can also cause like skin infections, things like that. So it's known to inhibit the growth of that and also the growth of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So just another bacteria that it has been shown to inhibit the growth of, which is awesome. Also, if anybody knows, it's an amoeba called Giardia, and it's basically like a parasite that can cause GI dysfunction and diarrhea in a lot of people if you were to contract that parasite. And oregano is actually found to be effective against that amoeba, which is pretty cool. So getting back to
Riley, we had a question.
Oh, sorry about that. I missed
That's okay.
We had two.
Two quick questions. One was, does the nutritional value of spices and herbs decrease if it's not fresh? And then the other person said, is fresh oregano available at most markets, and is using dried just as good?
Okay, so that's a great question. Whether it is fresh or dried, they still have just as good of nutritional properties. At least with like the oregano, it can be fresh, it can be dried, but either way, using it, you still will get those nutritional properties of it. And as for fresh oregano, that one's a little tougher to find. I find at most general markets, you're most likely going to find your basil, your thyme. But I have found it at some places, but you can note that using it in its dried form is still a good source. So you can do that as well. Okay. Did I answer all of those? Okay. All right, great. And just wanted to mention how I said the 1 teaspoon and how powerful it is. So just to give you perspective on how powerful that is, oregano has the antioxidant capacity that is 42 times more active than apples, 30 times more potent than potatoes, and 12 times more active than oranges. So like I said, powerful little punch of a herb, right? In just, one tiny little teaspoon, which is pretty incredible. So there's just some also options, which I'm sure you guys kind of read down in the PowerPoint, things that you can pair oregano with. I think it's a pretty easy herb to work with. I love it, but just get creative, get experimental, and just know that that little teaspoon is gonna do a world of good. Okay, now moving on to basil, which I love basil. Oh my goodness, fresh or dried, and I cook it sometimes. Sometimes I leave it raw. It's just so fragrant, and I just love it. But also, significant source of vitamin K. What you will find is that most of the green colored fruits, vegetables, herbs, that kind of thing, they will be a good source of vitamin K. So kind of make that connection. Vitamin K and green usually go together. So basil is well known, as we know. It contains a lot of similar health properties and nutrients as the oregano, like we talked about. Also can be used as an antibacterial agent. And it also, in terms of antibacterial, not only with your own health, but also in the foods that it's used with, it can prevent those foods from being contaminated as well. So just a little extra safety net for when you're, using or eating raw foods. Obviously, wash everything very well, but just knowing that you can combine certain herbs to help fight off those like different types of bacteria that might be lingering around. Okay, and I want to touch on more of the benefits of vitamin K specifically. I know I've mentioned it a lot in association with the green fruits, vegetables, and herbs, but vitamin K is necessary for our blood clotting. So for instance, when we get cut or scrape and our body starts to react by forming a scab because it starts to clot so that we don't, continually bleed. And with that being said as well, it also has additional properties in preventing hardening of the arteries as well. So those are some really important qualities that are associated with vitamin K. And I just wanted to help, reiterate that because it's super important just in general and want to know how it kind of functions in our body. Okay. We will move on to the next one, which is thyme.
Riley, one
Yes.
more question just came in. I'm sorry. Let's see, oops, I lost it. Oh, can you combine oregano and basil, maybe in a vinaigrette salad dressing?
Absolutely. That is a great idea. It's going to taste great, but it's also, think about, I talked about the powerful, just in a teaspoon of oregano. Basil also has a lot of the same properties as oregano. Oregano just happens to be a little bit more, powerful, but combine those, absolutely. That's like a super herb mixture. It's going to be great. So I would definitely, I think that's a great idea. And in a vinaigrette is also very, very smart. Fun fact as well, vitamin K is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means that it needs a source of fat when we consume it in order to be absorbed properly in our body. So it's a great idea to combine it in a vinaigrette, like you said, or whoever mentioned that, because you're already combining it with like the olive oil, I'm guessing, or some source like that. And that is a source of fat that's going to help your body to absorb that nutrient a lot better. So great idea, whoever mentioned that. All right. So we are on on thyme. And this is going to be a recurring concept, but hopefully by the end of this, it will be totally ingrained in your minds that green things, vitamin K. So once again, thyme is a significant source of vitamin K. And it's been used since, ancient times for aromatic reasons and cooking, but also medicinal reasons. And I think dating back to the 16th century, the oil from thyme has been used for its like antiseptic properties. So people have used it as like mouthwash, as like a topical application. And it's just very old, and people have been using it for a very long time for a good reason. Let's see. Like I talked about the long history of thyme and being used in natural medicine, there's actually the primary oil that comes from the thyme leaf is called thymol. And the reason why that is so important or has received the most attention, I guess, is because that's actually what's used in some cough drops and some vapor rubs, because that oil is so good at relieving congestion and opening up your nasal passages and things like that. So back in the day, people knew to use thyme or extract the oil from it to help when they were having cold symptoms, which I think is pretty cool, knowing that so many things can be derived from plant sources. Thyme also, as I mentioned before, same with a lot of the other green herbs, good source of dietary fiber, iron, manganese, calcium as well. And then along with the other ones too, it has antimicrobial, antiseptic properties like I mentioned as well. And like whoever mentioned, adding this to, there's some suggestions below, whether it's soups, sauces, but I really like adding thyme to salmon. If anyone likes salmon, I do like a thyme lemon kind of marinade, and that's really good. I enjoy that. So just some ways to incorporate it to get some of those benefits. Or if you're, have a cold or anything like that, note the oil can help with that as well. Okay, now rosemary, which I think is probably the most well-known herb out there. I could be biased, but I think everybody, when you mention rosemary, they probably have a good idea of what it is, what it smells like, how to use it. But people probably don't know why it's good nutritionally. Most people just like it for the smell or the taste. So also a good source of fiber, iron, calcium, and it's grown in like the Mediterranean regions. It's super well known for the way that it looks. It's like a piney kind of plant, and for its very potent smell. I know that if you walk by a rosemary bush, you definitely smell it, and if you even touch a little bit of it, your hands will be smelling like that all day. So a little goes a long way. So in addition to the other nutritional properties I talked about, one of the active ingredients found in rosemary has been shown to possibly protect against cancer. So this phytochemical, and I've mentioned some phytochemicals before, but basically they're non-nutritive compounds that our body uses to fight off certain things. So meaning that they're not necessarily a nutrient, but they are a beneficial chemical compound that is in plants. So in rosemary specifically, the phytochemical is known as, how do I say this? Carnosic acid. So that has been combined with other phytochemicals, like I mentioned, lycopene, anthocyanin, but specifically the carnosic acid and the lycopene. Lycopene is in red things, if you recall that. It's been known to kill cancer cells in some studies, so that's pretty powerful. And they've also noted that rosemary, the active ingredient that I talked about, the carnosic acid, helps protect the brain from like neurodegenerative conditions. So that could be Alzheimer's, just normal aging on the brain. So it has some really important properties in regards to brain health and just preserving that and preventing further deterioration. So rosemary, note that rosemary is good also for the brain. Okay, like with many other things that are all in common with these herbs are the anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, that sort of property. So they're all great for that, but some of the things that stick out, those are the most important things to remember in differentiating some of these herbs and spices. Okay, so if you guys are ready, we'll do a little bit of a recall here. I'm not sure if you guys want to just write it in the chat, if that's how we want to do it, but we'll just go from there. So do any of you remember which herb is known as like the mini salad that packs a huge punch in just 1 teaspoon? I know, I'm trying to see the, I see, oh.
Lots of responses with the word oregano.
I just did. I did something. Can I go back? Uh-oh, sorry, I'm quite, okay.
Did we lose your PowerPoint?
I hit Q&A and I don't know how to get rid of it.
Oh.
Reset, maybe? Reset.
Can you hit Q&A again? If not, we can have Guillermo share his screen.
Sorry.
You want me to share my screen?
You might have to share her PowerPoint.
I was just trying to find you, Gary.
I can see it. It's just very small. And I don't know why.
She hit the Q&A, Guillermo. That's
Do
what
we know
happened.
how to get out of the Q&A? Sorry, we're on I think it's slide 22. Yes, 22. Thank you for that. Oh.
Whoop.
Okay, you said we had some responses, right, for the, what was, I don't know why I can't see it, but what was the main consensus for that question?
Oregano.
All right, perfect. That is correct. So good to know you guys are listening. And then what about the herb that contains the ingredient for like vapor rubs, cough drops? All right, we have, okay, that's correct. Thyme, right? It's thymol. Thymol is that active oil ingredient in thyme that is used in vapor rubs and cough drops and is helped used to treat colds. So great job on that. And then what herb did I talk about that was super important for our brain health? And protecting against neurodegenerative. Yep, okay, great. Thank you, Rosemary. That is correct. You guys are killing it. And then bonus question, what do all three have in common? Kind of reiterated that at the end. Yes, okay, vitamin K, great. What about, there we go, anti-inflammatory, wonderful. Good responses. Also, they're anti-bacterial as well. So they also have that property as well. Perfect. Great, you guys. Awesome. Okay, so moving on. These are known as the 7 super spices according to McCormick, actually, which we know is a huge, herbs and spices company. So this is what they refer to as the, like I said, the 7 super spices. Because of all of their tremendous health benefits. So as you can see, we already talked about the first 3, and those are on the top 3 of their list, rightfully so, because of all the nutrients that are in there. And if you're interested in looking at more, the link is there as well. And with that, we can move on to the next ones. So cinnamon is one of the oldest actually spices known, and it grows on a small tree in Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Brazil, Vietnam, in Egypt as well. And to prepare it, they actually harvest the bark from a tree and they roll it up and dry it. So if you've ever wondered why cinnamon sticks look the way they do, it's because it actually comes from tree bark, which that's it's like in its most natural form. And also if they want to turn it into a powder, they just grind it up after that as well. Okay, and then besides like in cooking, it's also been used like in alternative medicine for many, many years because it's actually the highest antioxidant of any of the spices. So I know I talked about the powerful properties of oregano when it comes to like an herb, but when it comes to a spice, cinnamon has the highest antioxidant capacity. It's used in traditional Chinese medicine for like colds, nausea, any sort of GI issues, also to help to improve energy and vitality. So that's in traditional Chinese medicine. It's also used in Ayurveda, which is like Indian, like medicine of India, used for colds, indigestion, and in some cases even diabetes. So that's pretty interesting. It's also a good source of manganese that is the most prevalent in cinnamon, which is an essential trace mineral that we need and is required for strong bone health, our thyroid function, and also our memory. So manganese is good for those, and it's highest in the spice cinnamon. It's also interesting to note that if we are deficient in manganese, it can contribute sometimes to the development of diabetes. So manganese is definitely an important trace mineral for our bodies, and cinnamon is also a really great significant source. Also for cinnamon, we talked about oils with a couple different things. So the essential oils of cinnamon have also really great health properties as well. Anti-inflammatory, preventing like blood clotting, stopping the growth of bacteria. And I think one of the most impressive things now that is being studied with cinnamon is its ability to treat blood sugar levels. So kind of how I talked about the manganese that's in cinnamon and how, you know, if you don't have enough, it can lead to sometimes developing diabetes. Well, they're starting to study how cinnamon can help regulate blood sugar. So there was a study done in 2003 in the Medical Journal of Diabetes Care that found that cinnamon in the diets of people with type 2 diabetes will reduce the risk factors that are associated with diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. So that's notable and makes sense with kind of the manganese and what goes on in that whole process. Okay, we can go to the next slide.
Riley, can you tell us, is there an equivalent amount that should be had? Like you mentioned, a teaspoon of oregano. How much cinnamon would somebody need to have? Is it?
I think it's pretty, I don't have an exact measurement.
Okay.
And I could find that out for you guys and email it later, or give it to you, Kathy, and you could maybe, or I can send some things out if there's any additional questions that I can
just
answer.
sprinkle a bunch on to my stuff and throw some in my
That's
coffee.
what I
And
do. In most herbs and spices, you can get the nutritional properties or medicinal properties or that type of thing. Not by using like a whole, you know, it's not like you need to put a half a cup on your things. I think it's more so, you know, incorporating it into your meals when you can. Cinnamon, I would say like anywhere from a teaspoon to, let's say at the very, well, you can even spread it throughout the day, but like in your oatmeal or your cereal, if you're baking things, yeah, like half a tablespoon or a teaspoon, anywhere around there, you're still going to be getting the nutritional benefits. It's just more important to incorporate it when you can.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and then we talk about ginger, which I kind of briefly touched on when we were talking about just in general herbs and spices. So this ginger we already talked about is associated with like people who have nausea, vomiting, things like that, just not feeling good for motion sickness. And it, you know, people either drink ginger tea or they have like ginger lozenges, things like that can help a lot. But some other notable benefits of ginger is that it's a great source of potassium, magnesium, copper, manganese, and vitamin B6. So it's native to Southeast Asia, but it's known and used all over the world, can be purchased year-round, and you can also use it, whether you want to use it raw, if you want to buy the root and slice it, or you know, mince it, chop it up, throw it into dishes. You can do that. You can also buy the powdered form, that works too. Or you can even like add it to like hot water and steep it, and you can get some of the, you know, properties that way. Or if you're really daring and like that spice, you can, you know, cut like a thin slice and suck on it kind of for a little bit to get some of those properties. But that's if you can withstand the that spiciness of it. Or they even have like dried ginger or candied ginger. There's a lot of different ways that ginger has, you know, been used and can be consumed. But like I said, great for nausea, things like that. And it's actually been able to help prevent one of the most severe forms of like nausea and vomiting. It's called hyperemesis gravidium. And what that basically means is that someone who is, uncontrollably, sorry, I'm not trying to get TMI, but uncontrollable emesis, which is vomiting, where people have to be hospitalized for it because they're continually doing that. They get dehydrated to the point where they need to be hospitalized. And using ginger has been proven, and it's used even in hospitals to help alleviate that, and it works. So it just shows you kind of how powerful ginger is in reducing nausea and vomiting and things like that. Also great anti-inflammatory properties, and whenever I see anti-inflammatory, that could mean many things, whether it's anything that is currently attacking and inflaming your body in any way, or if you have autoimmune diseases like arthritis cause the inflammation, and by having regularly taking ginger or using it, people's pain levels have improved with arthritis. They've also have like improved mobility because the swelling goes down and they're able to move their joints. So really great for that as well. And also helps with the immune system because of that kind of spiciness that's involved with ginger, creates like a warming effect in our bodies and promotes like healthy sweating sometimes. So that's also great for immunity and immune function when you have a cold or something like that. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So just like I talked about before, here's just a better idea of like amounts that you can use and how to use it, natural remedies versus cooking. Like I said, you can steep it in hot water and drink it that way. Or you can, like I said, throw it into cooking. Or if you like to just eat it, you can do that too. If anybody likes sushi, you know, they give you the ginger on the side, and that's a nice little, you know, adds to the palate and everything. So just know that you're getting some awesome nutritional properties from that as well. And you can add it to other beverages too, just to give it a little kick. Okay, and then we can go to the next one. Garlic. I love garlic. I put garlic in probably everything. And you guys have probably heard of maybe some of the health benefits of garlic in terms of cardiovascular health, and like, you know, like maintaining your blood sugar and cholesterol. But I kind of wanted to talk about it's an antioxidant called allicin, and that is what gives garlic its very unique odor. So when you are chopping it up, crushing it, whatever you're, you know, every time you're actually breaking through it and the oils are being expressed, so that smell is caused by the antioxidant allicin. So, and that antioxidant is what helps with, like I said, lowering your blood pressure, and helps with maintaining like good cholesterol levels. So with all of that, that is in terms of like our cardiovascular health. Atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries. So like I said, it can help with that. And also has great antifungal, antibiotic properties, and it helps to ward off vampires. So that's also, I always wondered why that was a thing. Why did the vampires not like the garlic? But I am not one of those people. If I was a vampire, that would be my way of dying for sure, because I love garlic way too much.
They don't like the allicin.
Don't like the allicin. More for me. So yeah, you can add garlic to really anything. I mean, I love just mincing it up in a little bit of olive oil and adding it to, honestly, probably most of my dishes that I make. So great, powerful little root. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, we're gonna do a little recall again. You guys remember which spice, so not the herb, but which spice has the highest antioxidant capacity of any spice? Okay, great. Cinnamon, that is correct. Good job. Okay, and then what about which herb is a remedy for nausea? Correct, ginger. Ginger is great. It helps with, like I said, even the most severe form of nausea that people are hospitalized for. Okay, so out of the 7 that we talked about, can you name like at least 4 of the spices? You guys can all kind of chime in, but so spices specifically, you can name, okay, cinnamon, and then thyme and ginger are more herbs, but we'll get, I have a few more to talk about. So, but I gave you that super list. If you remember, there were 7, but cinnamon is definitely one of them. And I'll get into the last couple if we want to go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so this is another spice that that's a part of that 7 list that I talked about. So red peppers, so that's like the, the red pepper flakes that a lot of, usually whenever I think of red pepper flakes, I think of when you get them with pizza. They give you the Parmesan and the red pepper flakes. But it's also important to know some of the benefits of those little spicy things that I just can't handle sometimes. So they are members of the vegetable group that's known as capsicum. So that's just the family term for these type of like peppers and the vegetable category that they're in. More commonly known as like chili peppers. So they can be dried, they can be crushed. You can also, if you add them raw to things, you can do that as well. Any sort of chili peppers have these benefits. So they have a significant source of vitamin A and provitamin A. So that's like the precursor to vitamin A. So, which is beta carotene. So like we talked about, our bodies turn the beta carotene into vitamin A. And if you remember, the beta carotene is associated with, remember, the reds and the oranges and the yellows. So if you look at the red pepper flakes and like hot peppers, they're normally those colors, right? So that's what produces, the beta carotene is definitely the reason for those bright colors. So
Hey, Riley. Well, it seems that Donald is having a bit of trouble over here, and I'm not sure that he can't respond to the speaker unless, I don't know. Did you have a question, Donald, that you wanted to ask? No. Guillermo, can you unmute Donald? I don't know. Guillermo?
I can see his.
Yeah, I'm here, but now he's on mute.
Okay.
Okay. Did you?
Well, it's okay. I can still hear, but I lost everyone's picture and myself. There I am, because I'm speaking.
I see you.
Yeah,
I saw my picture because I was speaking. Doesn't matter. Let it go. I can still hear.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so we were talking about the red peppers, chili peppers, things like that. And if you wonder why they are hot or how that produces that spicy hot feeling, it's actually known as capsaicin. So that is the property that causes the spiciness, if you will. And they're determined by like the level or how much capsaicin is in each of the peppers. So the more capsaicin it contains, the hotter the pepper is. And it's been, studied widely actually, which is surprising, in some pain reducing effects, which I think is kind of interesting because, at least for me, I'm a wimp when it comes to spice. So I think that the spiciness is painful, but in some people it can actually, it's helped with reducing pain, which is interesting. Also has good cardiovascular benefits, and both of the beta carotene that's in the peppers and the capsaicin work together. So they're like double duty to fight inflammation, which is great. And also, just as a side effect of consuming them, you've probably noticed that they help open up our nasal passages, help us to breathe a little better whenever you eat that, you know, those spicy peppers. And speaking of the spice and the heat that you feel after eating those hot chili peppers, it actually takes energy. So when you feel the heat, your body producing that heat, you sweating, that kind of thing, your body is using calories to produce energy because of the heat, the thermo effect of the pepper, essentially. So kind of also burning a little bit of calories at the same time. And for those that are not spicy eaters like myself, I can handle a little bit, but even if you aren't, you know, into the hot peppers, even some of the sweet chili peppers, those also have some of the same benefits. So if they are sweet chilies, same sort of benefits. They still have the beta carotene. They still have the vitamin A properties, so that you can get from them. All right, we can go to the next slide. Oh yeah, this is another way I mean, you can go back to that, sorry. Just some ways that you can enjoy it, which we talked about. If you want to add a little spice to anything, or if you want to just eat them on their own, or cook them, depending on what your preference is. Okay, so we'll talk about turmeric, which is, I love curry. So if you like curry, any types of curry, one of the main ingredients and why it has that really, you know, rich mustardy color is due to the turmeric. So great anti-inflammatory spice. Probably, you know, one of the most notable, I would say. Has a significant source of iron, manganese, and it's usually, I think, grown or it's native to Indonesia and like southern India, where they've been using it and harvesting it for over 5,000 years. So once again, this spice has been used for so many different properties for so long, and there's a reason for it. And both Chinese and Indian medicine also believe in the properties that are associated with turmeric as well. So talking about phytonutrients again, one of the main phytonutrients in turmeric, it's called curcumin. And this is the reason for why turmeric has so many of these great properties. So like I said, it decreases inflammation, which can be protective against irritable bowel syndrome, which is also caused by, you know, inflammation in the gut. And they've actually some studies have linked frequent use of turmeric to lower rates of breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancer. So frequently eating it, whether that's curry, and if you combine like curry with cruciferous vegetables, and cruciferous vegetables basically mean like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, turnips, things like that. So if you combine the turmeric with those types of cruciferous vegetables, it's actually been shown to protect against prostate cancer. So I think there was a study done where men in India who regularly, that's just part of their diet, is lots of turmeric, lots of those types of vegetables, have a very low occurrence of prostate cancer. So great, powerful little spice as well. It has you know, you can use it's very flavorful, very colorful, it's fun, and you can add it to a lot of different things for anti-inflammatory properties. Also, one more thing to note about turmeric, also protective for the brain. So I know we talked about rosemary, but turmeric is also maybe protective against neurodegenerative diseases. Some evidence even says that, you know, consistent intake of turmeric can slow the progression of Alzheimer's. So not that it necessarily cures anything. There's still a lot of research, you know, being done, but it's it has, you know, those anti-inflammatory properties and the properties that help with just like brain function and protective, just allowing our brain health to be good and for it not to continue to degenerate. So that's why it slows the progression. So just note that turmeric, along with rosemary, but turmeric is also very good for protecting our brain health. Okay, next slide. All right, do a little recall here as well. So which spice may help you, it's kind of a trick question, but I kind of talked about it, can help you eat fewer calories and boost your metabolism, meaning it helps your body, you know, you're creating that heat, that energy. I can't see if anyone's responding. Oh, there we go. Yes, the red peppers, that is correct. So yes, chili peppers, sweet chilies, things like that definitely have that metabolism boosting property, and our body creates heat and it uses energy when we're eating those. And then which spice may protect against Alzheimer's disease and prostate cancer? All right, great job. Turmeric, that is correct. Like I talked about, great anti-inflammatory properties. And like talked about that study in India with the men with the low rates of prostate cancer. So yep, that is correct, turmeric. Okay, if we go to the next slide, you can open it up however you guys would like for questions, comments, anything that you guys are curious about, like to know.
Guillermo, do we want to just open it up since we're past time to see if anybody has any questions? Can we unmute people? Because it's not, there's only 9 people on.
I open the mic for everyone, the persons that doesn't have, because they have locked their microphones.
They're like, okay.
Besides, I see one in the chat, besides sugar, anything to avoid? Just for general health reasons, or, I mean, the thing that I like to, you know, tell most of my patients, my clients, is that, you know, it is everything in moderation. That is definitely important. But just, I think, like we talked about with the importance of variety and eating all different types of fruits and vegetables, and you want at least half of your plate usually to be those fruits and vegetables. So a quarter of it protein, a quarter of it some type of whole grain. I don't like to say there's anything specific that is like an absolute no. It also depends on what kind of health you're in, what kind of your past medical history, that kind of things. For instance, you know, if you have any renal issues, you want to avoid high intake of sodium, phosphorus, potassium, just because if your kidneys aren't functioning so great, then you can't have too much of that because it overloads the kidneys and they can't process it. So very dependent on what's going on with you personally, but I would say just for the general average human, eat a variety, make sure things are nutrient dense. And when I say that, I mean, if you're going to be eating it, think about what benefits are in it in terms of, for instance, if you eat a candy bar, right? There's a lot of fat, there's a lot of sugar. Is there any real nutrients in there? You know, you may get a little bit, right? But if you eat something else that's more nutrient dense, like let's say you eat berries and grapes, yes, there's sugar, natural sugar, but at least you're getting some other nutrients in there that are beneficial to your body. So just think of eating things that have actual nutrients in them and just doing a balance, you know, whole grains, so brown rice, over, you know, white rice. Think about adding those whole grains into your diet, lean meats, try replacing some of your, you know, saturated fats with unsaturated fats.
Oh, did you find a question? Oops, I'm sorry. I am unstable.
How was your
Can you hear me?
Mine is unstable too now.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
How would you, any comments about watermelon, one of my favorite seasonal fruits? I usually shop.
Yellow, can somebody close this out? People can't hear me.
Hello. So you said watermelon?
Yes.
All right, so watermelon is kind of included in that red group that we talked about. So it's going to have some of those properties like with the lycopene, which is great antioxidant. In terms of, are you talking about seasonally, or are you just wondering if they're just good? It's a good addition to the diet.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those. It has a lot of water content as well, so it's hydrating along with having some of those vitamins and minerals in it. Yeah, so I think it's for summer especially. I think it's a great option.
Yeah, and my dogs love it too. It's a little treat for them.
Well, everybody loves it. Great. All right. Anything else?
Thank you very much. It was a great
Thank
presentation.
you so much, Riley.
Well, thank you guys. It was so wonderful meeting all of you, seeing all of your faces. Thank you so much for having me. And hopefully
Great
you learned
job. I learned something new.
cool things. And next time you go to the grocery store, you can look at some of those items and remember why they're nutritionally important and try to incorporate some of them into your meals.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Riley.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.